On May 8, 1945, Germany surrendered after 6 years of war to the Allied powers. The leaders of the Big Three, Franklin Roosevelt of the United States, Winston Churchill of Britain, and Joseph Stalin of the Soviet Union, convened at Yalta to discuss post-war borders and the treatment of Germany after its surrender. Post-war Germany was divided into the West and East, with 4 occupation zones controlled by the United States, Britain, France, and the Soviet Union. Although Berlin was situated in the Soviet zone, it was also divided amongst all 4 allies. The Potsdam Conference in 1945 marked the beginning of the Cold War, as differences in strategies and visions of post-war Europe emerged. Stalin, known for his strategic acumen and political prowess, played a complex game and was quick with exploiting weaknesses and playing opponents against each other for his own gain. Roosevelt initially viewed Stalin as well-intentioned, believing that by offering security, the Soviet leader would cooperate for a world of democracy and peace. The U.S. policy towards the Soviet Union was seen as rather empathetic. However, Harry Truman, Roosevelt's successor, coming in with the reputation of a modest yet efficient no-nonsense leader, held suspicions about Stalin's intentions and communism, seeing it as a threat to the U.S. and democracy. The Britain leader, who was anti-communist and pragmatic but cautious about Stalin, Churchill, in 1944 meeting with Stalin, aimed to safeguard key strategic areas for British interests. However, with Churchill's electoral defeat in July and Clement Attlee assuming power, anti-communist sentiment continued under Foreign Secretary Ernest Bevan's guidance, who was a firm anti-communist and extremely wary of Soviet Union, Stalin, and their intentions in Europe. France, excluded from the Yalta meeting, also wasn't part of Potsdam because of the strained working relationship between Charles de Gaulle, the de facto French leader, and Roosevelt. Potsdam marked the conclusion of a series of wartime conferences among major Allied leaders, but notable for the difference in personnel. The US and the UK, accustomed to close collaboration during joint wartime military actions, found themselves led by an individual more wary of Soviet leader Stalin and his intentions. Lines among the Allies were becoming clearer. As the common enemy, Germany, vanished, their differences became evident. This realization led to the formation of the West Berlin Federal Republic of Germany by the US, UK, and France, and the East Berlin German Democratic Republic by the Soviet Union. Berlin, representing the ideological divide, eventually saw the construction of the Berlin Wall. Germany became a focus of Cold War politics. The US, led by Harry S. Truman, championed liberalism, democracy, and capitalist free enterprise. In contrast, Soviet Premier Joseph Stalin believed in communism and self-sufficiency. These opposing ideologies became the driving force of the Cold War, symbolized by the incompatible worldviews of 2 powerful leaders, each backed by formidable nuclear arsenals. The division of Berlin and Germany exemplified the stark contrast in political and ideological approaches during the Cold War. But how exactly did these views look like in practice? Go on to read The Politics of Segregated Metropolises, Case of Cold War Berlin, which illustrates economic and ideological underpinnings of the Cold War, exploring how these disparities shaped the political landscape of the time. Followed by Behind the Wall, unveiling life's tapestry in divided Berlin, which explores the stark differences in urban growth and service delivery between the 2 sides of the war, shedding light on the long-lasting impact of this ideological and political divide. And finally, Berlin's Invisible Walls, unpacking the post-reunification reality, which explores how the historical separation between East and West, born out of ideological conflicts and enforced by physical walls, has left enduring imprints on the city's identity. It focuses on these social differences that keep Berlin as a divided city.